welcome back. We've got about 26 minutes left to go for our market to shut shop for the week. And at least the last day of the week, shows some promise. 10,820 is what you've got. But the Nifty Bank has once again slipped into the red. There was a marginal pullback that we saw sometime at the start of the show when the index was trading higher by 0.25%, and now it's trading under by a similar amount. Taking you through the global market snapshot and what's been happening in Europe. FTSE 100 trades with gains of about 0.75%. Then you've got a CAC, which is up 0.5%, and DAX 2, which trades with gains of similar gains there. Turnover today is, we're entering into the expiry for the month. Next week is when you'll see the final expiry for the August series. So you're going to watch out for as you step into trade on Monday. But for now, the NSE F&O turnover is somewhere closer to about 10 lakh odd crores. 30,000 already crossed on cash, which is encouraging. You may actually nudge a number of somewhere closer to 34,000 crores in terms of the cash market turnover. But it's time now to bring in Sharad Dubey and get you through his list of Fab 4 stocks for the day. Sharad, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Devina. The list is actually Nifty heavy, and the first stock is Vedanta, which is up by almost more than 5%, and it's snapping its 3-day losing streak and the biggest gainer in the Nifty index after the Zambia government opened talks to facilitate the amicable exit of the company from the Konkola copper mines, as Bloomberg News reported. Up next, we are having Sun Pharma, which is up almost 3% after it gets an ANDA approval for its dapagliflozin. Up next, we are having Yes Bank, which is up almost 4.7% after the news had come that it's going to raise its capital plans by around $1.2 billion. But however, the company later clarified that it is not aware of such plans and treated this news as speculative. And the last stock of the day is Stellite Tech, which is up almost 13%, and with high volume seen at almost 2.5 times its 20-day average. So these are the Fab 4 stocks.
All right, thanks very much for that, Sharad. And since you brought up the topic of Yes Bank, I'll take that forward with Sunil. Yes Bank, wealth destructor for many. I mean, for somebody who's probably bought it at about 390, closer to 400, this is, total carnage of the portfolio. What would you do now? And if someone wants to swap out from a Yes Bank and get in another option going, what could it be?
Yeah, so in the recent results, the management had a call on which, they clearly mentioned that the loan book that they have, in which the real estate sector exposure, which is there, is roughly about 25,000 crores. And out of that, almost about 6,000 crores is NPA, which they have categorized. So that again was a dated thing in terms of the NPA provisioning that was done. So still, I think there is a lot which will come through in terms of the NPA from that book, which is really going to be a big question mark. Again, the second thing which is there is almost about 9,300 crores worth of loan against shares which is there. And recently in the last few days, again it has come through that their exposure to companies like Crompton Greaves Power, which is again disturbing. So the question that is there is in terms of the corporate governance policies which were followed, or the risk mitigation policies which were followed by Yes Bank at the time of giving the money itself. I think if that is the risk which is there, this is what has resulted in the stock price getting punished to whatever it has happened in the markets. And historically, if the loan book has been structured in this fashion, there is always a risk which is going to remain in the investor's mind as to how much more can still unfold. So it will not be one of the safe bets. It could be a trading bet for a certain percentage points of return in a short period of time. Let's say if there is some policy announcements and the market really takes off, this beaten down stocks could also do well, but it would not be something which could be thought of in terms of investments, is one such thing which could come in terms of Yes Bank. So ideally, if I'm looking at better opportunities, it could be in terms of ICICI Bank, which is there. A lot of corporate governance issues which have been there have been of the past. The loan book is pretty healthy, valuation is also very decent. And what I understand is that ICICI Bank has one of the most best motivated team which is working on the field right now. Just to give a perspective, there were about more than 34,000 employees who got a raise in the bank, and with the new person, Mr. Bakshi, coming in, the entire functioning of the bank has changed, that almost 60% of the KRAs of the employees are now linked to the profitability of the bank. This is a big game changer which has happened there in the entire ICICI Bank, and to my mind, valuation has still not captured it. So if a switch has to be done, I think from a Yes, maybe ICICI over a period of time could deliver better and safer returns compared to the risk which is there with ICICI Bank.
Okay. Keep in mind, you can also log onto our website and try and read this story about Yes Bank and the carnage that we've seen. Before we thank you, and we'll get Vineet Bolinchkar of Ventura Securities on this conversation. Before we thank you, if somebody wants to swap out of a Yes Bank, you're saying ICICI Bank or Axis might be a good idea. I believe insurance companies would also be a good idea.
Yeah, I think insurance is also a great pack to be there. The recent quarterly season, that was the one pocket which has shown tremendous amount of growth and resilience. So most of the insurance companies have crossed the point of inflection. And if we see their embedded value and compare it with the market cap, and the third parameter we need to look at the net premium earned in the year, I think it's not a huge premium for the next future growth which we are paying, let's say, for an HDFC Life. So if I'm looking at that company and the premium which I'm paying is roughly about 6 years of future growth, and HDFC Life is certainly assured for a much longer tenure than what I'm talking about. So from that context, I think it should make sense to get into companies like HDFC Life, where maybe you are seeing more than 15% kind of a growth on a compounded basis, which could happen in their business, and market will certainly reward it at a much better pace over a period of time. So move from banks where there are a lot of issues, get into fee-based income like insurance, and I think the returns can be earned over a period of time.
All right. Stay on with us, Sunil. Vineet Bolinchkar of Ventura Securities is also joining us on the show right now. Vineet, you've been, since the last time we spoke, lots been happening in the market. Have you changed your approach?
So we have been quite negative since the budget, And today, what we feel is that we may have put in a temporary bottom. But I think every rally out here would be used to exit the markets, and we believe that it is primarily due to the policy paralysis. The government is in a extreme state of denial. Even today, as industry veterans and experts have been tom-tomming to the government to provide SOPs, they have been looking the other way and in fact pointing the finger back at the industry people. So if you remember when the NBFC crisis struck, that time itself the NBFC pack of leaders had warned the government that it could really shave off the GDP, because it was the NBFC lending which was propping up the growth. And then also they turned a blind eye, and things have got into a mess. And now with policy being decided with babus in the country who don't know what to do, I think we are in a state of policy paralysis, and this is going to really impact us.
Well, Vineet, so are you negative on pockets which you hitherto were bullish on? I know you mentioned post-budget you were negative, but let's say, for example, large cement companies, wherein the quarterly numbers selectively were not that bad. Are you negative on the pack at large, or are you selectively bullish on any of them?
So we have to see the cement companies' fortunes in light of the fact that, over the last 2-3 days, when the PM has come out and said that, infra projects or the highway projects are on hold until, they find a suitable financing model. I think the only area of growth has been tossed out. So you have realty which is suffering, you have infrastructure which is suffering, and obviously cement industry is in a state of excess capacity. Let's not forget that. So that is going to play a kind of a overhead negative on the sector, and we should see prices of cement come down drastically, which will in turn impact volumes and in turn realizations, and you will see it gradually come off. So while you are there at it, stocks like Ultratech, which are quoting at super premium valuations, I think will sell off.
Vineet, any thoughts on this bounce back that we've seen in Sterlite Tech today? I know you track that company closely. We spoke to the management today. They mentioned that they were not quite sure of why there's such pessimism. They've clarified on a lot of things, but the market clearly doesn't like it.
See, what has happened is that ever since the ever since the correction in the pricing of the fiber cable, the market has come to realize that there had been overpricing in positivity, and the growth outlook is quite clouded. So with the growth outlook being clouded, market is very unsure of how to value the stock, and hence we have seen that stock sell off.
Okay. Sunil, leave us with something that you're really convinced with.
I think MGL, Mahanagar Gas, is one such idea which can be having a lot of promise. The way in which government statements are coming about differing their EV plan. So the big concern which was there was that if EV comes into play, then most of those fuel-related companies could be an issue. Now, in case of Mahanagar Gas, also the concern was in terms of the sell-off which was there. That has also been like behind us. And the company is likely to earn profits upwards of about 650-700 crores. And their capex, which is there in terms of installation of fuel stations, is about 400 crores. So there is just no debt in the company. Valuations are extremely attractive. It has got great growth opportunity also in terms of the future. So I think it's a good thing in terms of all things are coming or available at a price. And I think this can be one such good idea which investors can look at investing and maybe sip into it. Again, as I say, markets are volatile. So, and all of these ideas which I'm talking about are a standard disclaimer that they are there with me and my client portfolios, and I have a biased interest in all that I've spoken. So, just like to tell the investors about doing their own homework before taking any viewpoint.
All right, a disclaimer there. Thanks very much, Sunil. Really appreciate you taking out the time and joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for calling me here. Thanks. Bye.
All right, it's also time now to take a look at what dealing rooms are recommending. Yatin Mota and Darshan Mehta are here with their channel checks. Let's start off with you, Darshan.
Yeah, so one of the stocks that's managed to do well and move to the highest point of the day today is Sun Pharma. Dealers indicate that some of the domestic funds are accumulating. The counter is moved up almost 3%. So that's something. Pharma as a pack over the past few days has seen a lot of traction. So Sun Pharma for one. The other one is Jubilant Foodwork, which has moved up almost 4%. It was down in today's trade along with a lot of consumption name, but has managed to move to the highest point of the day. There is enough amount of short covering that's seen on the counter. And the final stock that dealers are talking about is Bharat Electronics. Again, moving back to close to 100 level. A large foreign brokerage came out with a report. Morgan Stanley came out with a note on in trade yesterday, and again is actively pushing this counter to its clients. So there is activity. High volume, 15.7 million shares have already been traded. But Yatin, what are you hearing?
Reliance Industries, Darshan, that is one stock wherein dealers are recommending a buy today, sell tomorrow kind of a strategy. Remember, a decent amount of correction has happened in a few of these large cap names, and dealers expect some bit of bounce back for the Reliance Industries at this point in time. DLF also, remember the stock was bashed yesterday, was almost 20% down intraday. Today is the 5% kind of a rally which we have seen, but dealers do indicate that this is largely to do with the short covering which is happening in the counter. Hardly there are delivery-based volumes according to dealers which could happen in the stock end of the day. So a lot of short covering seen here. And Ashok Leyland is something wherein HNIs are buyers in trade today. Stock has corrected significantly and is one of the worst performers in the entire auto pack. Dealers are hopeful that there could be some announcement coming in from the government side which could aid commercial vehicle sales, and hence Ashok Leyland. So this is probably a hope trade wherein HNIs are participating at this point in time. But of course, all eyes on the dealing rooms given the fact that 5 p.m. is the finance minister conference, and dealing rooms in general have been buying a lot of equities on the hope that Monday could be a gap up after some kind of announcement on the positive side in the 5 p.m. press conference today. Let's see what really comes out of that.
Thanks a lot for that, Yatin, but I don't think they're buying enough. It's just about 0.8% higher on the index. But nonetheless, let's just talk more stocks then with all our experts who are still here with us. Just want to come back to you, Vineet, and something that you feel could see a sharp turnaround. I mean, autos for one. There are some green shoots that we're seeing, at least in terms of the pricing action. But do you believe that the worst is over?
No, we don't believe that the worst is over, but definitely, we could have, as I said, we could have been oversold short term, and there would be some stocks which have been beaten down very sharply. There are others which have, just bucked the trend. So, I expect personally a rebound to happen in the stocks that have held out for some time now. So those would be the pockets where, the strong stocks would be bought into. And as it was pointed out about MGL, we also like the stock. So the reasoning being that, with the EV overhang going away and hybrid vehicles coming into the thought process of the funds of the government, I think that, MGL offers one of the best plays that is around. Further, we believe that, if at all there is going to be a kind of a turnaround, it's going to be in the two-wheelers, supported by a rural, rebound coming possibly from a short-term crop after the Kharif crop has been washed out and the future Rabi crop that is coming in. And, if you go to see, we've seen substantial liquidity easing happening by the government. All this market that it needs right now to, put in an intermediate rally is a little bit of a sentiment boost and confidence measures, and that too can only be inputted by the government.
Okay, let's get in those quick closing ideas as well from our technical experts. Let's start off with you first, Brijesh.
Regarding with the BTST or STBT has been concerned, I have 3 calls. 2 on STBT side and 1 on BTST side. So I'll start with STBT first. Eicher Motor is looking weak on the chart, and in today's session we have seen Eicher Motor is making a new 50-week low. Still, overall trend of the charts has been negative. So somewhere around 15,375 if it trades, then one can go for a sell side with a strict stop loss of 15,625 and play for the target of 14,900 or even 14,750 can't be ruled out. Second sell call is on Ambuja Cement. The stock had broken the range pattern on a downside. Somewhere around 197 the stock has been quoting. So one can play on a sell side with a strict stop loss of 204 and play for the target of 187, 188. And on Page Industry, on a hourly chart, wolf wave pattern formation has been witnesses. So somewhere around 17,970 if it trades, then one can look out to buy with a strict stop loss of 17,650 and play for the target of 18,400. If any of it trades and holds above 18,400, then we can see another 700 to 800 points rally on the higher side.
Kshitij, what about you? Your top idea?
I would be much more comfortable taking a BTST in today's session, as we are expecting some kind of positive news in a press conference from Finance Ministry. So I hope some kind of positivity will continue in auto sector. And from last 1 hour, we have seen some kind of buying coming into Maruti specifically. Stock is currently trading around 60 to 60 levels. I believe that the stock has much more potential to move towards 6,400. So one can carry over the long position in Maruti at current levels. You need to keep a stop loss below 6,150 levels from here on for upside potential of 6,400. Second stock, I would like to once again go as a long position by taking a long position in one of the IT counter once again. The stock is HCL Tech. Currently stock is trading around 1,887 levels, and I believe stock has a potential to move towards 1,110 levels from here on. So one need to keep stop loss below 1,070 levels from here on to take as an BTST for upside potential of 1,110 levels in HCL Tech.
Just wondering, Kshitij, would you go out and trade either Dish or Z?
See, in both of the stocks, I would be much more comfortable taking a position in Z, because Dish TV has already taken a rally, say from last 4 to 5 trading sessions, and the risk reward is not favoring to me. But yes, Zeal still, I look Zeal has a much more potential, because the stock has been beaten down, say from 400 levels to 310 levels very sharply, and thereon we have seen almost a V-shaped recovery into the prices, and currently we are trading around 350 levels. So momentum play can take into Z as well on a higher side. So one can bet on Z as a BTST once again. We need to keep a strict stop loss below 330 levels, because once again that will act as a crucial support levels for the Z going forward. So on a higher side, I believe 365 to 370 zone cannot be ruled out in coming sessions. So one can take a long position in Z as well for Monday session.
Okay, Vineet, two mid-cap names, fairly well tracked. Wonder if you have coverage or thoughts on either of them. One is Subros, and if the auto bounce back were to continue, this is the undisputed leader within that auto cooling solution. The other one is Edelweiss, which is now in double digits.
I think Edelweiss is well left. I think that the concern around the NBFC space and them selling out or wanting to sell out their jewel in the crown, which is the wealth business, is an alarming idea. Obviously, something is not right out there. So we would like to leave that stock alone. And Subros is definitely a good stock to look at. Fundamentals are very strong. And we think that if at all there is an auto bounce back, then this stock will definitely perform well.
Okay, Vineet, appreciate you taking the time out and joining us today and giving us your thoughts. Thanks much for being with us today on Bloomberg Quint. We have about 4 minutes left for the markets to shut shop. Quick closing thoughts on maybe the indices as well. So Kshitij, coming on the Nifty Bank, we haven't quite discussed that. It's not ending in the green, but off the lows of the day. Would you have a trade, a closing strategy on the Nifty Bank?
See, frankly speaking, I would not be comfortable taking any position, because we have event around 5 o'clock. So we might expect some kind of volatility in Monday session. But yes, rightly mentioned, the Bank Nifty has not been performing since morning and currently trading in a red zone as well. I believe on a downside 26,800 levels would be a key support levels. So as far we are holding about 26,800 levels, and below 27,200 levels, the range bound move can be expected in Bank Nifty. But yes, once again, sharp breakdown below 26,800 levels with marginal higher volumes can nosedive the Bank Nifty towards 26,500, 26,400 in coming sessions. So frankly speaking, comfortably, I'm not very much comfortable taking any position in Bank Nifty as of now, because we need to watch out whether this sideways movement can be sustainable at these levels or not.
What about Brijesh, a call on the stock like Vedanta, which has bounced back well? Would you, if somebody had a long position, would you carry home the long?
See, Neeraj, it's been an inside bar, and the stock right now is firmly trading above 132. So if someone wants to look for a very short-term gain, then keep a strict stop loss of 132, play for the target of 142 or 142.5. So one can take a a BTST sort of thing for a Monday session has been concerned.
All right, let's start wrapping up the markets. Gemma and Steon will take in closing thoughts from you, but it's ending well, you would have to say, courtesy that the flash that came on the Bloomberg terminal about likely rollbacks on some issues related to FPIs. Let's see, there's a press conference at 5 and maybe some announcements around that, or otherwise could come in. We don't quite know, and it's foolhardy to really try and guesstimate what the finance minister could say or would not say. I think people have burned their fingers in the past. But we're ending in the green, which is a good news. Nifty Bank might be ending in the red, but it's off the lows of the day, and quite convincingly, you would have to say that as well. So it's not a bad close. The broader on the spectrum too, off the lows. The market bet slightly positive. So all in all, good going for the markets on the last day of the week. After a really terrible day yesterday, we've ended well. A lot of green on the screen, you would have to say. Z tops the charts, up about 6%, followed by Vedanta up nearly 6%. There's strength in UPL, no doubt. UPL, Yes Bank, BPCL, ONGC, all of them seeing some short covering. Mahindra and Mahindra 4.5% seeing some short covering as well. Strength in IOC and Coal India. So those are a few names which are doing well. What's not doing well? Some losses to IndusInd Bank. ITC continues to grind lower. ICICI Bank is at a bit of a soft spot today, but just about 1%, nothing alarming. Eicher Motors, another 1%. Kotak Bank, about 1%. So some of the quality names have seen a bit of an issue in the session today. HDFC Bank too in the red, but it's a day of pounds and short covering, so you probably have less action in these names. I guess the broader end of the spectrum too, Devina, would be seeing something similar, a lot of beaten down names bouncing back.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect that to happen on such a day. So the mid caps and the small caps are doing well. Mid cap index is up almost 1.2%. So that tells the clear story. In terms of individual movers, then we'll start off first with the gainers. So Sterlite Tech is the first stock. Yesterday was down 20%, and today has seen that bout of recovery come back in. It's up about 12.5%. Network 18 is the next stock that I want to talk about, and that stock is going to end with gains of about 11.5%. Through the day, there was a buying that came into the counter at about 20 odd rupees. Chambal Fertilizers, Vodafone Idea, remember the kind of dropping that it had gone down all the way, I think, to about 5.2 odd rupees. From there, it's picking up 10% higher, but still no comparison to the kind of thrashing that the stock has received. Godfrey Phillips, Indian Hotels are two other names that are doing well. Godfrey Phillips, ever since it reported, since it's the time it had reported its numbers, it's been doing well. And today is yet another day where it's got gains of about 5 odd percent. DLF yesterday had a rough ride. Today seems to have reversed those losses and is trading with gains and will close with gains of about 5.5 odd percent. Management gave some clarification. Coffee Day, yet again, upper circuit in today's trade as well. So that stock's up 5%. Losers then, Edelweiss on the ED inquiry with regards to Edelweiss ARC investment in Kohinoor, that is down 7%, and it's going to close with a double-digit figure. So that's something that we've not seen in some time for Edelweiss now. CG Power, lower circuit after lower circuit ever since the auditors raised those red flags. Today is yet another day where you're seeing a 10% drop on CG Power. Future Retail, the stock's down about 7.5% by close. Then you've got PNB Housing, Info Edge, and Oberoi Realty. Real estate as a pocket has been weak today in the last few days. It's not been particularly smooth for the entire basket. And today, Oberoi Realty is down about 4.5%. But that's what you've got in terms of the daily close. It's not been bad. So on the indices, you're going to be ending with decent gains. Nifty 50 over almost 1%. And can't say that for the Nifty Bank, which is going to still be down 55 points, but it's not at the lowest point of the day.
Yeah, it's not at the lowest point of the day, which is not bad at all. And let's pull up the turnover for today and just the contributors list before we get back to what the weekly performance has been. The turnover not bad today, Devina. On a day when the markets have done well, the cash market turnover too has inched up.
Yeah, that's an encouraging number. 34,000 odd crores is what we've seen. So the last few days it's been hovering somewhere around 28,000 odd crores. And on the NSE F&O, you'll start to see this number picking up next week as we approach the monthly expiry. But as we close the week, let's take a look at how the week has been. And this is the contributors for today. So you've got 127 odd points gain versus 27 points lost, and those are the contributors. But I want to quickly look at how the week has gone by for the index and the kind of gains that you've seen. So it's going to still be a week where you've lost out almost 2 odd percent, but then you've got gainers in the form of Maruti, Tech Mahindra, TCS. So IT as a pocket did well, Pharma did well. So your safer haven names came into play, but the surprise was Maruti that stacked right at the top, about 5 odd percent. And the losers then, ITC, State Bank of India, Coal India, Eicher Motors, all of them losing.
Yes, Bank tops the list, 25% lower. Actually, banks, and if you can pull up the Bank Nifty, I think that one would show the 5-day performance. All the constituents of the Bank Nifty ending with losses. Yes Bank, no doubt the principal one, but RBL, Indusin too have looked slightly wobbly in the week gone by.
All right, let's get in some closing comments then. That's what we've got in terms of the weekly wrap out. But let's start off with you, Kshitij. What will you be watching out for as we step into trade next week?
Yeah, see, after witnessing the four-day losing streak, today Nifty has given a sharp bounce back from the lows, but somehow Bank Nifty could not manage to hold on to its gains. As once again, Bank Nifty has ended the day in a red zone once again. So as far as the technical levels are concerned, at the starting of the show, as I mentioned, that this week Nifty has given a sharp breakdown below the symmetrical triangle pattern onto the daily charts, which is visible, and the levels, the breakdown levels was 10,900 levels or 10,900 levels, which will now act as a crucial resistance levels moving forward. So as far we are holding below 10,900 levels, I don't think so this pullback rally can be sustainable at higher levels. So we need to watch out whether the 10,900 levels can be break decisively with the higher volumes or not. Only then we can witness further follow of buying coming into the index in coming week. And on a downside, once again, any fall below 10,750 levels would open the gates for bears towards 10,600 levels. So one need to remain very cautious as far we are trading in a broader range of 10,750 to 10,950 in coming week.
Rajesh, what about you?
Devina, still the trend is not that much clear. No doubt we have seen a pullback of Nifty from a low of say 10,640 zone, and it got close above the previous swing low of say 10,770. But 10,950 would be the level I would be watching very keenly for a swing-based trading is been concerned, and the important level would be above 11,200. So these are the two important resistance zone on the higher side. When they have been crossed, and then only we can say, okay, we have come out from a bearish territory, and now we are heading towards the bull side. So till this level has not been crossed, any rise should be used for going short. Now on a downside, which I have been witnessing for not this series, might be a September series. 10,500 or say 10,550 is the level to watch, and whereas on if we are giving closing below that, then another pain would be there, and that pain would be a bigger pain, because that, and if we are giving a big sell off from there, then Nifty is heading towards the level of 10,100. But purely for next week is been concerned, I would be watching 10,770 followed by 10,950. If we are breaking and trading below the level of 10,770, then we are heading towards a new low, the swing low. And regarding with the bank Nifty has been concerned, 27,450, I would be watching very keenly. If we are able to trade above that, then only one can look out for the long. Otherwise, 26,450 would be the level. If that thing breaks, then another say 500 points of correction can't be ruled out.
All right, we leave it at that, gentlemen. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, Kshitij as well as Brijesh. And on that note, we're going to wrap out Countdown, but do stay tuned. The very important speech of the FM at 5 p.m. today.